Mayor, I'm ready when you are.
Y'all ready? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Eustis City Hall. It is Thursday, June the 3rd, 2021. It is 6:10 p.m. This is a regular City Commission meeting of the Eustis City Commission. Our invocation this evening, it's a real treat to welcome Elder Elijah Perry back up here. So Elder Perry, if you'd like to come, and then our pledge will be given by Commissioner Cobb. If you'd like to join us, please stand.
Good evening to our mayor and to all our city officials, to this waiting audience. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we come now before your throne of mercy. And we come in the name of your precious Son, Jesus. We give you thanks, give you praise, glory, and honor. We're so thankful, Lord, you blessed us, allowed us to see another day. And Lord God, you have brought us again to our city official meeting. And Lord, we pray that you would look on us in a special way. Continue to bless all our city officials in a special way, trying their head with honor, knowledge, that they continue to lead this fair city in a great way. We're so grateful how you brought us thus far. Pray that you look on our president, continue to give him strength, that he would lead our nation. Oh God, that we'll be a peaceful people all over this United States. In the mighty name of Jesus, we thank you again for your goodness and kindness. And Lord, we thank you now for Officer Wayne Perry. For Lord, you blessed him to serve us on the city police force for 35 years. And Lord, we pray now as he go out into his retirement, we pray that your glory and mercy will continue to be upon him. And we pray for all our police force throughout this United States. We pray for their protection. We pray that you will lead God in a special way. In the mighty name of Jesus we pray. And amen.
Amen. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Elder Perry. I'm going to officially call the meeting to order. Mary, is there a quorum present, proper notice been given?
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you so much. Mr. Nybert, any agenda updates?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, before us, we have the approval of minutes from our May the 20th, 2021 regular City Commission meeting. What's the will of our commission?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of the minutes of May 20th, 2021.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye. Next, we have presentations, and we're going to turn this over to Chief Capri. Come on up, Chief. I won't limit you tonight. Wayne and I have been friends for a long time, so I'll let you take your time.
Wayne, come on up, buddy. Very special night tonight. I got a lot of stuff here, so. Senior Officer Wayne Perry, who I promoted to sergeant on his last day of work. 36 years of service at the city of Eustis. That's a huge milestone in law enforcement. Not only did he do 36 years, he did it right. He protected the citizens of this great city, unblemished record, coached and mentored youth in sports, done so much good stuff in this community, he even gave us his son. Carry on. So, Wayne, we got a couple things for you here. I'm going to read, I'm not going to take it out of here, so that's I'll probably scratch it. So, this is a proper commendation from the city, whereas Wayne G. Perry has been employed by the city of Eustis since May 28, 1986, and will be retiring as a senior, retiring, sorry, on May 28, 2021. whereas during his employment in the police department, he served the people of the city of Eustis, its city officials, and the city commission in an efficient and tireless manner, and with honesty, integrity, and dedication. Whereas he will be forever remembered by the officials and the city commission of the city of Eustis, Florida. Now therefore, in recognition of his service, the city of Eustis, Florida does hereby wish to express appreciation to Wayne G. Perry on behalf of the citizens, citizens and officials of the city of Eustis, Florida, for his faithful service as an employee of the city, signed and sealed on this 12th day of May, 2021, by the mayor and city manager. That's what you just mentioned. I'm trying to be quick, man.
Take your time, my friend.
There's a clock here, right? It ain't fixed.
Let Swanson open it, make sure.
It's tape.
I got you.
Well, you put down your Rubik's Cube and help me. This is the clock on behalf of the city. Wayne Perry, in recognition of the royal dedicated service, May 28, 1986 to May 28, 2021, city of Eustis, Florida. Upon retirement, any officer that retires in good standards, they get, take their department issued firearm with them. So with that, we get you a nice box, and this box says Wayne Perry upon retirement, with sincere thanks and appreciation for your 35 years of continued dedicated service to the department and citizens of Eustis, Florida, from your Eustis Police Department family, May 28, 2021, and the unloaded firearms in there. Unbelievable. He received this year the Outstanding Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for Lake County.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Sergeant Perry, we love you, we appreciate you, and don't be a stranger, okay? And I have to say a few words. There are no friendlies.
I don't have much to say as usual, as those who know me. I'll just end this with a story from my very first day with the Eustis Police Department. I came in, our police department was actually here upstairs here in the city hall. And one officer told me, he said, when I grow up, I want to look just like you. I had my shoes shine, I had my uniform nice and pressed and everything. I showed up, I'm looking good. At that time, we had a departmental meeting, and it actually was in here. Everybody came in, sat down, and me being a rookie, I hadn't been assigned my training officer, I stayed beside my sergeant. And I'm sitting there, all of a sudden, this loud alarm goes off. Beep! Everybody gets running. I don't know what's going on. It's my very first day. So I'm saying with my sergeant, I run up behind him. I don't know what's going on. It's a bank robbery or something. I get there and I stop. And I tell Sergeant, I don't have any bullets in my gun. At the time, we only had revolvers. So he stops, he looks at me and says, you don't have any bullets? I'm like, no, they didn't issue them to me. He takes out what he calls a speed loader with 6 rounds, put this in your gun. I do that, and for the next 2 days, I had 6 rounds in my gun. But I want to thank everybody from the city of Eustis. It's been an honor and pleasure to serve you. I only had a few goals in my life for working here. One being becoming a sergeant. Other was to have did my full career, not have used my weapon at all, and I made it through without doing that.
Thank you, Jesus.
and be part of a special team with the police department, which I began calling emergency response team, which are turned into our current SWAT team. So that was my goals, and I achieved them, and I thank everybody that helped me along. There's a long list of those who helped me make it, and I thank them, and I thank you.
Wayne. Stay right there. Before you step away, will you introduce your family members that are here tonight?
Sitting up front right here is my father, Elder Elijah Perry. Who, by the way, also worked for the city for over 30 years. And back here, my wife and my daughter, my youngest daughter, Stephanie and Gabrielle. The rest, I believe they're watching by Zoom.
Wayne, congratulations, and we've known each other for a long time. I want to thank you for your service and your love for this city. Your family means a lot to us, so thank you for everything you've done, and we will take good care of your son. I promise you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, next we come down to appointments, and we have appointments to the Police Pension Board. And I understand we're making 2 appointments to that board, or just one?
You have a choice of an appointment.
We have
You
it, so we're going to have to make the decision,
For
huh?
one position, yes, sir.
All right, you're making it hard on us tonight. On our list tonight, we have Adam Bolton, which Adam has been on the board, is that correct?
That's correct.
And then Kim Burkhofer has applied also for the board.
Correct. Adam is filling the position that is a commission-appointed position.
Okay,
Ken is currently, or previously served in an officer position, now no longer being an officer. They had both applied to fill that citizen position.
okay. Is Adam here tonight? Don't see him anywhere? All right. Commission? Ken, you want to say anything? Come on forward. I can tell you're enjoying that retirement. Look at that facial hair. You happen to escort him up here?
I'm the chair of the board.
Oh, okay. Thought he was going to get unruly.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commission. I'm Kenneth Burkhofer, retired police officer here at City of Eustis. I had the privilege to serve the pension board for just over 7 years. While on the pension board, I was the secretary initially, and then I became the chair. I was the chair the day that I had to step down because I retired. During my time on the pension board, I've established relationships with several of our providers, our attorney, our plan administrator, our investment managers, our money managers. So I have good working relationships with them. I have a great, well-rounded knowledge of Florida Statute 112, 185, our local ordinance pertaining to our pension, and I'm the only member on the board, or was on the board, as a certified public pension trustee through FPPTA. So, I would ask to be appointed back to the board. If you would, have me, I would appreciate it. It gives me the ability to volunteer to do something I really like to. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Any questions of Ken?
I'd just like to make a motion that we, if you're asking for that, I don't have one question, but
Did you want to say anything, Gary?
I'd like to thank Adam Bolton for serving on the board.
absolutely.
But Adam Bolton, as you may or may not be aware, is the chief of Umatilla Police Department.
Correct.
So I think he's had some issues with scheduling that has prevented him from being at some of those meetings. This guy doesn't have a job.
Makes it kind of easy,
He
doesn't
should
it?
show up at every meeting, and his last act when he left was to make me the chair. So I'm hoping that I can do it right back at him if you appoint him.
All right. So Nan has made a motion to appoint Ken back to the board, and Emily has seconded that. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye. Congratulations and thank you.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next, we're coming down now, audience to be heard. This is your opportunity to speak to the commission about items that are not on the agenda. I'm going to ask that you please keep everything to 3 minutes when you come to the microphone. Mr. Nybert?
Gail Isaac Thomas.
Ms. Gale?
Good evening.
Evening, Ms. Gale.
What Mary is passing out is a copy of a letter that I received back in September. I'll take my mask down. And I'm coming before the commission tonight because of this letter and something that has happened on the same street that I emailed you all about on Friday. This letter pertains to the property that I am in care of, and it was sent to me. It was dated September the 18th, as you can see, and I received it on Monday, the 21st, and the matter was taken care of the very next day. I called for help, and I have someone in this room that helped me, and I appreciate that. And I said that to say this. Court enforcement had to really be looking to see a washer and a table in or on my carport. The table was there because I was going to have a yard sale. The washer was there because it was broken and I needed someone to fix it, which I end up junking to keep court enforcement off of me. And I believe it was a vendetta because I had come before you before I had surgery about a property, and I had spoken with Eric, who is over court enforcement, Eric Martin, and I was telling him about it, and he told me that the person did not have a job, and it would be nice if us in the community would help clean up the yard. And the next thing he asked was, is anyone living in your home around here? And I didn't think anything about it, and I said no. A few days later, I got this letter. I believe it was a vendetta. Very much so. Because I took a picture on April the 16th of, I'm trying to get through with this. But anyway, you all have the picture. It was not a very nice picture. It was ugly. It was an eyesore in front of my property. On city property, blocking the sidewalk, trash being thrown and blown in my yard that I take care of. I upkeep and do the maintenance on. Not only that, it was there for over a month. And if code enforcement rode down the street and saw this in my carport and never rode down that street again and saw this, I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. Not only that, I even saw the post from Eustis Police Department, and that property, compared to what I had in the carport, where was court enforcement then? I have a problem with court enforcement, and I wanted to let you all know. Even though it has been taken care of, now I ask that the street sweeper please come down that street because of the mess that was left.
So that picture,
The dumpster,
it's done?
the dumpster is there, is full, and it needs to be removed.
And Gail, let us look into the other matter, and I'll respond back to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, because that was, and like I say, I had surgery on my hand, so it was nothing I can do by myself, but when I received this letter, I made a phone call.
Thank you.
And help came, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. Code enforcement's not to be used as a vendetta. It's not to be used for anything but to try to clean our city. And I don't like accusations, and I don't like that if somebody's been done that way. So let us look into it, and we'll respond back to you, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Neidert?
Seifert Olson.
Mr. Olson? Good to see you.
Yes, good to be here.
Absolutely. You got handouts for us? Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Greetings from Bay Street.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, this is an unpaid, non-political announcement from Bay Street Theater, Bay Street Players. We are having an open house this Sunday from 2 until 4. We would like to make sure and invite all of you to come see the theater. Some changes, some improvements. We have had a rough couple of months and are in the process of correcting certain shortcomings that were brought to our attention. And the open house is just an invitation for everybody to see the Grand Theater. It is almost 100 years since it was built, depending upon when you want to count. 1922 is what the cornerstone says. We're in the process, and you'll get a chance to see backstage various sections of the theater, everything from our construction for Mamma Mia to upstairs where we have all of our costumes. And if anybody is really anxious, I will take them up to the lighting area and show some of that around and our equipment. Again, it's an open house. Please come, enjoy, get to see the theater. We're back again. We will be in full compliance, and we will be in full house, starting with the Mamma Mia production.
Looking
Thank you very
forward to
much.
it, Si. Thank you so much.
Thank
Also, Barry Bostwick is going to be there with you all Sunday.
He will be there.
So that'll give folks an opportunity to meet somebody that they've seen on television and on stage. So thank you. And Bay Street is still the crown jewel of our downtown. We need to make sure that we try to support it as much as we can. Thank you.
Flash mob tomorrow.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Neidert.
David Serter.
Good evening, David.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, Mr. Cobb, Mr. Hawkins, Ms. Emily Lee, Mrs. Smith, and, Eustis. Historic Eustis. I mean, I was just looking up how many famous people have come through Eustis. You've had an astronaut, you've had basketball players, I could name them off here. And our police officers. My God, we've got a new police chief out of Daytona Beach. I wasn't here, but I come to a lot of commissioner meetings. I'm honored to have your pin, but, you know, I was in an outdoor meeting the other day. They have legislative, what do they call them, lobbyists. They saw me up in Tallahassee. You know, our country's in trouble. You know, a lot of people don't like me. And, you know, our police officers, well, they are essential, and people put non-essential. It's crazy what's going on in our country. You know, we're part of Lake County, we're part of Florida, we're part of the USA. And our veterans, we had Memorial Day the other day, Josh Blake in a beautiful, I got the picture here, in a beautiful 615, Kerry Baker is from, a senator, he's our appraiser. At A&W Peterson Gun Shop 615, Josh Blake, a commissioner, my district, and possibly yours too, District 5. It goes all the way up into the Ocala National Forest, which is gorgeous. Everybody wants to retire to Florida. And I know Mayor Holland's very busy. He's all over the state. I know we all have lives, you know. I'm getting old. I'm getting to be a retired citizen. I moved to Florida because everybody loves the paradise. Talk about trash. Only trash litter. I got a bottle bill from the governor. Maybe he takes small steps. I don't drink. I see on your board, you probably don't need me to speak again. You have a DUI thing going with the police department. You know, our kids don't need to drink and drive. And fire departments, I'm trying to get to City Hall. Well, the fire department in Leesburg, Fulton Park. I go to Leesburg meetings too. I was just at John Christian. I was honored to be in front of him. I've been to his church. He's a minister. I get kicked out of some churches. Some churches don't like me. So what? You can't make everybody happy. You run for office. I tried to run for office. I won, you know, when Obama came in office out of Illinois, where Michael Paul was the Illinois race. And I just saw Senator Baxley's aide the other day, Nat McClain, whose dad is Dan McClain, 23rd District State Rep. And my contact in the governor's office is the same as his. And Brett Haig, 33rd District. But Keith Trudeau, all our legislators did such a great job up in Tallahassee.
Thanks, sir.
Time's up. Well, the other day I did a 10-9-8-7-6-5-4-3-2-1.
Thank you, David.
Can I say something for a minute?
Go right
Yeah,
ahead.
David, I agree. We have one of the best police chiefs around.
Absolutely.
Craig, if you get a chance, could you introduce yourself and later on? Yeah. Just later on, yeah.
Anyone else, Ron? Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Anybody
Thank
else
you.
that would like to address the commission on something that is not on our agenda this evening? Not seeing anyone. We're going to go ahead to the consent agenda. There are 5 items on our consent agenda tonight. Is there anything anybody would like pulled off for discussion? Not seeing or hearing anything. Looking for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda in full.
Thank you, ma'am.
I second.
Give that to Willie. Second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, sir. Good evening. We have Resolution 2140, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, approving and ratifying a third amendment to an agreement for sale and purchase of property between the City of Eustis and Spencer TF LLC. Mr. Carino.
Good evening. You have before you Resolution 21-40. I think you are mostly, for the most part, familiar with the project. This is a third amendment to the purchase agreement. This third amendment basically does 2 things. It increases the inspection or due diligence period through the end of the calendar year, which would be December 31st of 2021. And then the other main thing that the third amendment does is it takes the $2,000 in already paid to date earnest money and converts it from fully refundable to non-refundable, and then it increases the total earnest money amount to $10,000. And so that $10,000 total becomes non-refundable as opposed to fully refundable. And again, those are the 2 main things that the third amendment does. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. And Spencer is in the audience if you have any questions of him. So, thank you.
Any questions or concerns for Tom?
Well, we're supposed to have isn't there an August date? So what are we asking?
So the current inspection period is through August 20th of 2021. That was approved last August 20th for 1 year. And so Spencer does have an inspection period through August 20th. He has asked for an extension of that inspection period from August 20th through December 31st of 2021. And so right now, he does have an option to purchase that, again, the inspection period is good through August. So if you were to do nothing, he would still have an option to purchase that he could exercise through August 20th of 2021. That is currently in effect, if you make no changes.
Have we, refresh my memory, have we had an extension before? Is this the first one? First time?
This
The-
is second.
Second.
This is a second extension. It's a third amendment because there was a administrative amendment to change the escrow agent. That was the first amendment. The second amendment was an extension to the inspection period. This third amendment is a second extension.
I have a question. What all has been performed on this property so far? Because I know you have to understand, Commissioner Hawkins and I are coming on to this. You know, we were in the audience when they first did this, and so I know some things were promised as far as survey, you know, all kinds of things. What all was supposed to have been performed so far to date?
So it's probably best that I let Spencer answer that question
Okay,
as to
that's
what's been
fine.
performed to date. So
Spencer,
I'll-
come on up.
What was inspected?
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Good evening, Commissioners. So I have 12 updates, concrete updates on the progress of the Eustis Drive-In Theater project. The first update is, as Tom mentioned, the $10,000 non-refundable deposit for an extension. The second is we're using the title report, we're integrating that into a survey to include boundary survey, topographical studies, tree, wetland, and groundwater element studies. We have engaged a group of consultants to prepare site engineer plans. We're arranging a pre-application meeting with the city. We're expanding our geotechnical investigation to determine extent of high groundwater on the property. We're coordinating with our neighbors to our north on the development process. We're addressing floodplain issues and wetlands that we share with the Pine Meadows Housing Development Project. We're also ordering a Phase 2 environmental site assessment because we did order a Phase 1 already. We need to understand the cleanup requirements, which was the result of a landfill operation by the city of Eustis that was not disclosed before our contract was, and it was discovered in Phase 1 of the environmental site assessment. We've hired Land Planning Group and Brian Potts of Tanith Engineering. We have engaged Commissioner Cobb's referral, Dan Cordell of Professional Dirt Services, for site work. We're in the process of providing insurance to the city of Eustis with Spence TF named insured. We've acquired utility information from the city and utility plan information to create a water and sewage design. And we have communication with Lake County for roadway access management standards related to County Road 44. And we have a follow-up conference with the county tomorrow, June 4th, to plan the traffic study. We're requesting an extension to the end of the year, December 31st, 2021. And we have been forthright since our initial negotiations that we would need at least 2 years for our due diligence because these things take time. By all of our professional estimates, despite the pandemic delay, we're actually ahead of our schedule. Can I answer any questions?
Any questions?
I do.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate the update.
Thank you.
Physically, what has been done?
The environmental study on the property, we just got funding 2 weeks ago. We have hired all the consultants that I've mentioned. Everyone's schedule is very busy. The second they can get on the land, we will be doing the survey, the topographical studies, and then we hope to be able to submit the site engineer plans to the city so we can all have a full understanding of what it's going to take to build this drive-in. And all of those, you know, we're spending a lot of money. As you know, Nan, to develop property out there, especially commercial, it costs a lot of money, it takes a lot of time, and no matter what, how this goes, the city gets all those studies. So if you allow us the time, we're going to be spending more money to understand this land better.
Can I ask you how much money has been spent to date?
I would have to consult with my professionals and Flagship, my investors. They're now spending that money. I've spent my own money up to date, and that's been quite a bit of my own personal money of investment, and now Flagship is investing quite a lot. For instance, Phase 2 is close to $15,000. The survey is going to be close to $25,000. These are some of the expenses we've already committed to.
I said, did the city, this, like I said, was before us.
Yeah.
So did you guys give him a benchmark to say the survey needs to be done at this point? You know, I don't.
There was no specific benchmarks in the agreement. There was just the premise that by the close of the inspection date that the work that he needed to make a determination whether or not the close would have been done.
You might also share, the original had what, 6 screens?
5 screens.
Kind of give them a synopsis of what it was going to be like.
Sure.
And what it is going to be now.
Yeah, the Lighthouse 5-screen drive-in theater was always the intention. It will still be the largest drive-in theater in the world according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Still today, that is true. Right now, we're starting with 2 screens. because of the pandemic, because there's no new movies from the studios, we're just barely starting to get new releases, and all of those are also home video. We're starting with 2 screens, which is still a very large drive-in. I don't know if you all are familiar with drive-ins, but all the drive-ins within a 2-3 hour radius are 1 screen. 80% of drive-ins in the United States are 1 screen. Already at 2 screens with the largest screens in the world, we're going to be setting records and attracting tourists. We are going to be reserving 3 more spots for the other 3 screens if the first 2 are successful.
When is the lighthouse expected to be built?
The lighthouse is the food and beverage and also the projector, so it's an essential part of the drive-in. We have to work with the city and our site planning to understand how that will be built, but it's part of the drive-in. It is the drive-in.
So that will be along with the 2 screens?
That's right. Yeah, it's where the projectors and food and beverage are housed. Concessions are essential.
I'm just concerned that when it was sold to the
Mhm.
city, it was sold with the 5.
It was sold with the 2, actually. In the final
2?
contract negotiation, I made it clear to the city that I could commit to 2 at that time because there was a title restriction. And so I've been consistent with that I'm able to build 2. I hope to build 5. That's a great problem to have. We plan on it. We're reserving those spots.
We weren't in the contract, we wouldn't know.
Right.
I just know from that side.
Yeah, and in the final contract
I remember 5.
announcement, it was 2 screens to the city.
And you signed a contract with your backers?
Yes,
To
they're
see
investors.
this through?
That's right.
And what's your expected completion date?
Yeah, I mean, as I mentioned last time I was here 2 weeks ago, some things are outside of our control.
That's what worries me.
That's how development works. I can't control how quickly the city reviews my engineered site plans. I can't control how quickly, the state, the county works. We are rolling full steam ahead. We've hired everyone. We want to have this open for blockbuster season, May, June of 2022. But with any construction, it can take longer than you want. And our investors are sinking money. We don't get a dollar back until there's something operating. So it's in our interest of spending a lot of money that we've already spent and are committed to spending in the city of Eustis to get that open.
Are your investors just for the initial part of the project or the complete project?
We're looking at doing a site engineer plan of the overall master build of the project for the whole, 70 acres.
No, the investors, are they investing in just the 2 screens in the lighthouse?
whole project.
Or the entire project?
Yeah,
So they're in for the long haul?
they are. And it took me a long time to find them, and I lost all my investors in the pandemic, so I had to find these new investors.
Are they
which-
local?
They are local. They're in Lake Mary.
Any other questions of Spencer?
Any members of the public like to speak on Resolution 2140? Seeing none?
Yeah, we got one lady. Come on up.
I'm Sharon Otterson. I just wanted to know where this is going to be located, because I haven't heard, other than what was in the paper 2 years ago. And if we seem to be building everything out on 44, is the entrance and exit going to be, where's that going to be? And again, we have to look at the traffic, since we're going to, we want to annex everything out there, and then we'll.
I think Spencer said that's one of his meetings tomorrow, is with Lake County.
Study the traffic.
Seeing no others, back to you, Mayor.
All right. Commissioners, before us, we have resolution number 21-40. What's the will of our commission?
As you know, I'm going to move for approval of resolution number 21-40, and I'd like to have discussion.
Okay. Anybody want to second it? I will second it so that we can have discussion.
Thank you.
Karen?
Thank you. I think any entrepreneur or anyone in a business during this last 18 months, and I can only bring this down to my level. We ordered windows in November. They were installed last week. I had construction completely stopped at my house for 2 months because they couldn't do any more without the windows. That's just a bedroom, bathroom, and closet. We've been doing this since November. So something of this magnitude, I can understand the delays because there are things that just did not happen. The windows, the factories closed. Nothing was made. Everything was back ordered. So I would allow this to go forward. We're looking at December, and then at that point, I think we should be hearing reports of, now that everyone's hired, what the reports are going to be at. And if it doesn't work, we have all those reports for the next fire, if that's what happens.
No, I understand. I understand what you're saying, Karen. My concern is the financing end of it. I would feel more comfortable knowing that there's someone backing him. I'd feel more comfortable talking to someone backing him. I just need to feel comfortable that there's someone behind Spencer saying, we're going to make sure this works. And I think you may be new at this, right?
You're right.
Yeah, and I just feel comfortable knowing that the money's there and we're not just kind of prolonging, and potential buyers pass us up.
No, I would say December is drop dead final, end of the show. Tell us or move on.
I'm with Willie. I can understand. I mean, I get with COVID. But on the flip side of that, I'll have to argue that point because we have almost a 25,000 square foot candle facility in our Commerce Park that never missed a lick, that never missed a beat. They work there 7 days a week. They made it through. And I see both sides of the coin here. So I don't, and they have just the benchmarks and everything else. They had to do everything that you had to do as well. The other thing too is so when did you all initially approve this project?
Tom, you have that
It was
date?
March of 2020.
March of 2020.
And
There were a series of presentations, and it was considered several times, but the final approval was March of 2020. The approval of the initial agreement was March of 2020.
Okay. And they backed out when? Your backers backed out when?
My original investors were in theater investment, so I'm new to building and driving from scratch.
Sure.
I renovated 3 theaters, 1 in Pittsburgh, 2 in Dallas, Texas, and they were all investors in that theater chain, and that they're gone now. They all suffered a great loss in the shutdown. So I got new investors that are local, and it's much better, which is the main reason for the delay. I understand. I'm glad that construction wasn't delayed on your candle factory. I wish we were already underway. Unfortunately, that wasn't my hand dealt, and my investors more specifically.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes,
and
sir.
I don't know if you can answer this.
Okay.
How deep are your investors willing to dig to get this project done? How much money?
Yeah, they're committed. It's a very expensive project, millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know the full scope yet, but it's many millions of dollars for the entire scope of the project, food and beverage included, in the mixed-use commercial potential, on top of just the drive-in. So they're committed to the long haul. They've done over 650 commercial projects around the state of Florida. So they had the finances. That $10,000 is something completely from them. All these contracts and proposals that they've already committed to, over $100,000 already committed just since I saw you 2 weeks ago. That's all their cash. That's the financing. And they are a local business flagship.
Well, if they're committed, then why don't they do all 5?
Why don't they do what?
All 5.
Because
I'm
of the
just
state
nervous.
of the industry. I wouldn't be nervous about that. If you know Exhibition right now, I don't think anyone would recommend making 5 screens before you know if 2 screens can work in the city of Eustis. If this was an international, in Orlando, I would say 5 screens if you had this much acreage. But this is a tourist attracting business. 2 screens with the largest screens in the world will still attract tourists, and we hope once it's successful, from the revenues and the profits that we intend to make, we will add the additional screens. But right now, because if you know the movie industry, there has not been a single new release since Quiet Place 2 last weekend. That changes the state of the industry entirely. Nothing has changed Hollywood more than this shutdown. And that is something no one can predict going forward or could have seen in the past. And so people come to movies for new releases. Even, most of the new releases, all the Warner Brothers slate, 21 films, are available at home on HBO Max for $10. That's competition we never had before. This is a family tourism event where we expect people to come out for the classics. There are new releases. We expect by May of next year things to get back to somewhat normality. But the film industry has been hurt in a particular way that no other industry has because we don't have any new product until they start catching up. And they need at least 3 months to release a new movie for marketing. That's why we're just now seeing Quiet Place 2 coming out. That's why we have to stick with 2, make it successful, then build it to 5 is our hope.
What's the time frame between 2 and the other 3?
You asked that last time, and I
know
can't
that.
commit to that.
Okay, and so if
I can't predict the future in the film industry.
So if the other 3 don't get built, what's the plan to build on the rest of the acreage?
Additional parking, potentially, I'm not sure.
So how many acres are we looking at for this lighthouse and the two screens?
We're going to reserve all the acreage for the drive-in, and I don't know what the acreage is until we have our site engineered plans approved. We have to consider the wetlands, we have to do the topographical studies. There's a lot before I can guesstimate.
I think you're going to be able to shocked at that site work.
I know. And my investors know that
the
better
cost.
than me. They've done this 650 times across the state of Florida. They're committed. They like the land. They're willing to spend millions. I hope Eustis will accept our money and our investment. And $10,000 today, plus all the studies, which is well over $100,000.
How long are the studies good for?
Depends on the study, I would say. I'm not an expert in this.
I mean, the environmental should be good because there's no changing in conditions on it.
Well, it ebbs and flows with the weather.
Yeah. Clean industry, what is the phase 2 good for?
Rick, please come up before you answer. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. The geotech should hold for years. So the geotech report, whatever findings we have in there, that'll go for pretty much any development, with the understanding that if a different product went in a different structure, you do your stability, your foundation stability tests in that location. So we would have the geotech reports, kind of gives us an overall feel of what we can do with the property, but there may be additional required if a heavy structure was to be at a location other than where we have the borings. So the majority of it could be used and would hold for years until there was really a change of condition. The environmental, there too, I would give it, there's a limitation because there's a report, bugs and bunnies is what we call it, your gopher tortoises and such. That will shift. I don't know offhand what the different agencies, what that limitation would be. I would imagine it would hold for a few years. I can't give you an exact number though. But that is one thing that can change is your species will come through. Gopher tortoise move. They move all over the place. That's not great conditions for the gopher tortoise with the soils that are out there.
Thank you, Rick. Emily, anything else?
Yeah. I was wondering, with the state of the movie industry now, it just seems like a risky business to be getting into right now to me, considering you don't know when it's going to come back, how it's going to come back, and the competition with the Netflix and TV and the movie theaters. It doesn't seem kind of risky.
Yeah, and as I mentioned at my last commission meeting, more drive-ins have opened this year because of the pandemic, ironically, because of social distancing, because people like to be separated now and still be entertained and get out of their house. Drive-ins have been overwhelmingly opening, more so than since the 1960s all across the country. Old drive-ins have been retrofitted, new projectors, digital revolution killed a lot of the old drive-ins. They're buying projectors, opening new drive-ins, expanding drive-ins. Drive-ins are doing the best in the whole state, the film industry. Whenever I came before you and presented this idea 2 years ago, it was deemed as old-fashioned. Now it's cutting edge, which is an added bonus from this pandemic. But it is a family entertainment destination. It is outdoors. We do have 100 years of cinema to take advantage of that we can show at the theaters, plus the new releases as they ramp up. So my investors are willing to spend millions of dollars because they believe in this, and they also understand the movie industry.
What would you do with it if it doesn't work? If it falls? What other vision would you have for converting that or doing something different with it? That would allow us to believe that if it does not work, that we're not going to have something just standing there that's not working anymore, closed down and just standing there. So would you have another option or vision for what you could do with it?
Yeah, and along with the drive-in, like underneath the base of the lighthouse is a food and beverage. A lot of revenues are from concessions, so we believe that this is a destination that could be used for multiple events, the drive-in theater during the day, whether it be a flea market or outside concerts or whatever it may be. We're going to try and make as many profits and revenues as we can from this structure. We believe in the drive-in. That's why the investors are committed, and that's our main focus. I'm not quite sure what else we would do there, but we'd have to figure that out if that day did come, but I don't expect it to.
The only concern I have about it is that is so many changes from what, and requests, and then coming before us, we ask for an update, and nothing has been done, and extension. So that's the concern I have, that nothing has been, it's been words,
Yeah.
as up to now. So that's the concern that I have.
And you raised that concern last time, and I'd like to say that I looked at all my commissioner presentations over the last 2 years. The original vision hasn't changed at all. It's always been a drive-in. It's always been a 5-screen drive-in. Now it's a 2-screen drive-in because of a pandemic no one saw coming. You say it's words, but I've been consistent with what the drive-in is.
Not that issue, but the things that should have been done up to now that hasn't been done, actually nothing. So,
like I said, the environmental study we've already done, and we've committed to many more studies, already accumulating to over $100,000. I did not have the money to do those studies, so I was not able to do those studies. Also, my contract didn't designate a timeline or a time frame. The commissioners chose not to put that in the contract, and we have been waiting until the financing came into place, and now we do have something concrete with an additional deposit. It's a lot of money on the table. I think any entrepreneur would be proud to have already spent this much time and money on an investment in his hometown.
Anything else? All right, Commissioner. Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you.
We've got a first, we've got a second, we've had discussion. Anything else y'all want to talk about before we get started here? Roll call, Mary.
Commissioner Cobb,
Nay.
Commissioner Hawkins,
This isn't an easy one. Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee,
I'm going to say nay.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith,
Aye.
Man, a bad spot, aren't you?
Mayor Holland,
The big bucks, baby.
I tell you,
That's been making the big bucks. to do this.
$5,400 a year right there.
$5,400 a year.
Spencer, I believe in you. I really want to vote no tonight. and it's to hold your feet to the fire that something's done by the August deadline. But I believe in you. So I'm going to vote yes. Please get the studies done, okay? Because when we come to December, I'll help pull the plug on the whole thing. Right now, it's an opportunity for the city to turn around and sell that money for a lot more money. And the way land is going right now, we could do that. I'm going to believe in you. I believe in your spirit. I believe in you being a young person trying to do something. Okay? So get it done. Aye. All right, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, sir. Next item is the second reading of Ordinance 2106, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis amending Chapter 42 franchises of the City of Eustis Code of Ordinances, adding an additional article to provide for franchise agreements for textile recycling collection bins, also known as clothing donation bins, located within the city limits, providing for repeal of conflicting ordinances, codification, severability, and an effective date. Commission, I was able to incorporate the changes that you suggested at the last commission meeting. I've spoken to Lori, and although this is going to be effective July 5th, we're going to reach out to those owners who have these bins on their properties, notify them of this change should you approve it, and that compliance is required by July 5th. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
That was my only question.
You brought this forward. Are you pleased with the changes that have been made in it?
Very much so. I just want to say thank you to Derek and Lori for all the hard work. Again, I appreciate it very much.
You're welcome. Would any members of, I'm sorry, sir.
And I've said this before, I didn't notice any of this until Commissioner Cobb brought it up. And I was driving around yesterday, and it seemed like it's exploded. There's more now.
There are.
I think they've all come to council.
Yeah.
I do believe so.
Seeing no other questions for the commission, would any members of the public like to speak on Ordinance 2106? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of the hearing.
Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-06. What's the will of our commission?
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Ordinance 2107, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, amending Chapter 34, Article 2, by adding the regulation of textile recycling collection bins to the Code of Ordinances, repealing all Eustis ordinances inconsistent herewith, and providing for codification, severability, and an effective date. Would any members of the public like to speak on Ordinance 2107? Seeing none, the public comment portion of the hearing is closed.
Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-07. What's the will of our commission?
So moved.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Give that to Miss Emily. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Ordinance 2032, this is the second and final reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, voluntarily annexing approximately 20.691 acres of real property located on the north side of County Road 44A, east of El Dorado Lake Drive. Commission, this is the first of the Thrill Hill ordinances. There's been no update or activity since the last meeting on this. There's still a stalemate between the county and the city with regard to the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So your options are to either continue this to a date certain, continue it indefinitely, or to deny at this point.
Is there a meeting scheduled
With,
between the county?
between the county and us, no, but Sean and I have talked, Commissioner Parks, and we will get something back on the calendar. It's just been a hectic couple weeks, and we were kind of waiting to see what the governor was doing with the appointees to that board that will have to make a decision. He has filled those positions, but I do not expect anything to happen until the fall for that group to meet and go through recommendations. So.
Are there any questions? No further questions from the commission. I'll open up to the public.
I have a card from Susan Oderson.
Susan?
Sharon Otterson.
I'm sorry, Sharon.
You should know me by
Apologies.
now. I'm kind of glad to see it being delayed, because that's what I wanted to talk about. You were just talking about construction. My husband, well, he's retired, but he still draws house plans and does architectural work. And houses that, you know, people downsized the plans 2 months ago, they could have built the bigger place for less than what they're building a smaller place. And I would just like to consider, you know, seeing how the areas that have already been prepared for development do, because they advertise as affordable housing, and right now, construction has tripled in price. Building supplies, windows and doors, they can't get them, and, you know, if you ride around, there are a lot of places that are prepared and probably have the permits and everything to build, and they're just sitting, and since we've had so much wind, they are sand pits. And just look at our economy and how we're coming back from the pandemic before we bulldoze any more, see how those developments actually follow through before we just continue on. Did you have a question?
Lori, correct me if I'm wrong. We've had nothing brought before us, correct? This is just strictly annexation, correct? Thank you.
Lee Conger?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening to me once again. I appreciate it. I'm going to group together comments for 737475 so that we can save time. In those, it's referencing annexation and comprehensive plan amendment, assigning future land use, and et cetera. And it strikes me that you haven't completely voted on the future land use map. It hasn't been adopted yet. And so I feel like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. On the future land use map, there's a concern for me that there's no RR designation or agricultural designation as you come out east, and much of what would be county or country road, you know, kind of country property is designated SR. And in a recent conversation with staff, I was informed that if these are annexed, they would come in, of course, as SR. And that it's the intention for these more rural properties to come in as SR, which then puts the density to the 3 to 5 under the SR designation. And, you know, that's a concern. You know, at the last meeting, I was excited to hear Emily talk about a future vision, some planning to make East Eustis something really special, really unique to the county. And I would like to hold out that this is the kind of thing that we continue on the path for joint planning and for new, fresh ideas. You know, sometimes when I reference the word Hamlet or Groveland, everybody shuts down thinking that that's the end-all and the be-all, and that's not how I view that. The way I view that is that these are ideas that are being used that are unique and special and new. And what I'm seeing in a lot of the changes of land use are intelligent, but they're more the same. It's more sprawl. And I'm very, very concerned about that because I think we have an opportunity to do something better than Groveland, you know, and something unique. So before we go ahead and annex and just attach the SR designation, let's complete the journey that was begun with some, you know, talented, intelligent, creative joint planning. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Major Stacy?
Good afternoon, Major Stacy, 221 Lee Road, Suite 27, Winter Park, Florida, 32789. I'm here on behalf of Ms. Harper as the agent for annexation and available to answer any questions. We are still actively working through the process with the county, but it's important to understand, I think in some of the conversation earlier with the drive-in, the studies and the items that need to happen to make a project go forward, it does require investment. And to get the investment, you need to have an agency that you can work through and entitle. And with Lake County not having utilities, just makes sense for the annexation to go forward and us work together to create something productive, but we are administratively working through things.
Thank you, Major.
Would anyone else like to speak on this ordinance 20-32 annexation? Seeing none, we'll turn it back over to the commission. Thank you.
Commissioners, I spoke to you last meeting about putting this to a vote, and my major concern still is that that property is not continuous. And if we try to vote it through, we are in violation. It's not continuous. If we're not having another meeting, if the committee that hears this in Tallahassee is not meeting until the fall, it's a long delay, and we're bringing people into these meetings constantly, and it's just constant back and forth. We will continue to negotiate with Lake County, but I just don't want to put us in a position to where we're just constantly bringing this back up. There's other things that we can be working on as a city to work on growth patterns. We're going to have the Pine Meadows project in front of us. There are other things that we can be working on. Once the state of Florida reaches a decision and brings it back to us, we will be able to look at it and we can operate off of that. You know, I'm to a point where almost let those three landowners continue the fight with Lake County. Let those three landowners continue the fight in court if that's what they want to do. Until that property is continuous, I will not put the city of Eustis in the line of fire any more than we have to. That's just my take on it, okay? So that's where we are tonight. So I'm open to any type of motions that we want to make as a commission. And we'll peacefully do this instead of like we did last time. So, you know, it's open to you all to discuss it and make a motion if you'd like to.
I just have a comment. You know, I concur with Mayor Holland and Mr. Stacy, and please tell Ms. Harper, please understand, I'm not against the project. Not at all. Not at all. My problem is, again, is what Mayor Holland said. Whatever you guys need to do with Tallahassee and then the county, take care of your business and then come back to me and I'll help you with the project. I'm not against it. I just, again, it keeps people coming back. These guys are coming back. You know, handle your business and then come back and I'll support you.
Yes, ma'am.
I just needed you to understand I'm not against the project by any stretch.
Yes, ma'am. Understood.
Okay.
And oh, I'm sorry. No. Yeah, I look at it a little differently. You know, when things were going well, we were all in. And I don't want to, I think we should just see it through, but that's just me. You know, I think that, you know, they came to us, you know, we agreed, and now it's, okay, we'll back off and we'll let you fight your fight. I think if we're in it together, we're in it together, but that's just me.
What, so Tallahassee has appointed the people, which is way ahead of what we thought,
The
right?
governor did appoint the three missing off that board finally.
Okay.
But it looks like probably September, October before that board will probably meet. Yeah,
But what if it meets next month?
if it meets next month, then we can bring it back to the commission once they do meet.
But I also don't want to get us in a situation where if they don't, you know, request the county to reverse it or anything like that, I'm still not good with it, only because I do not want to get this city in a lawsuit.
So what happens if we continue it? If we don't continue it, the applicant is then out dollars, right? They would have to refile?
Yes, how much is that?
There would be republication of the notices, and that's several hundreds of dollars for each of those.
Talking multi-million dollar stuff, I mean, for a couple $100. I mean,
you know, you do this for so long, and then not a fear, but my thought is, then we go, and the next day something happens. And I would
And we deal with it at the next meeting.
I'm sorry?
Then we deal with it at the next meeting.
Now, if.
Well, you know what I mean, they reapply.
Well, there's two options. If you vote to deny, then we have to go through reapplication, republication, 2 hearings. A continuance, be it in 30 days or 90 days, you were still on second reading. There's no re-advertising costs. But if we set that date certain, say September 2nd, we can't change that date unless we would unless we would advertise it differently. But technically, once we set that date to September 2nd, no action can take.
Correct, yep.
So if we set it for, say, September 2nd, we can't take any interim action until September 2nd. Unless the applicants were to withdraw their application and then reapply, and
Yeah.
given the process, it would end up being September anyway.
So we could do a continuation till the first meeting in September.
That is one option for the commission, yes.
It's the same thing we've been doing. You know, it's just the
Well,
same continuance.
90
Same-
days.
Well, you can just do a date certain. Same thing.
Well, that's what I would recommend. So I would make a motion then to continue.
Wait, I haven't commented.
Go ahead, Ms. M.
Thank you. My preference would be to continue it and continue to work. No one is doing anything right now about seeing what we can come up with. What kind of vision can we have for this process? And we've been in it to this point. I hate to throw in the towel. I'm not willing to throw in the towel. I think we should postpone it and continue to work with the county and get creative and see what kind of things we can come up with. Is how I feel.
I'm good with that. And I think it's important that people understand that, you know, they need to give us a chance to come up with a vision.
Well, I thought we did it to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, they talked about 2 to 2.5 dwelling units per acre, and it still wasn't good enough.
Yeah. So
I mean,
give us-
it's already 1 acre right now, you know. Yeah, and negotiating means you have to come off 1. That's what it is now. And so 2 to 2.5, I think that's pretty reasonable. That's all. Am I correct, Mayor?
And Sean and I will continue that call.
Okay, so where do you go from 1 to 2 to 2.5? There is no,
Exactly.
what's the negotiation here? There's no mid-ground there.
I would like to see what we can come up with. There's no committee working, there's no group of us working together to see what we can come up with. And I think it's important to involve the community, people in the community, us, all of us get together and try to mesh out something. Because to be honest with you, I don't want to see some little cheap developments go up. I want to see us
I don't
get
either.
grand in our vision and what we want and what we produce. And so I think we have to work together to do that.
And I think it's important that everyone in the audience observed that when she said that, we all agreed. So it's not like we're trying to, to throw 500, 5 houses per acre.
No. No.
So we're willing to work.
No,
Yeah,
never
exactly.
been, it's never been the desire.
Exactly. But I think people need to stand back and let us work and listen to us. So I agree. I'm sure everyone forgot what we agreed to, but
I guess the only difference between what I'm saying and what you're saying is that, I agree with it.
Yeah.
I agree with it. We can still negotiate.
Yeah.
But it's just, I don't know, just getting old, I guess.
yeah, I just, my thing is I just don't want to leave the landowners out there by themselves. We got in this together. Let's see this through. And I understand what you're saying, but that's just my take.
All right. Who wants to make a motion?
I tried once and Emily got me, so.
You now have permission to do so.
Just do this one now and then the rest.
So do I need to encompass?
I just do this one now, and then we'll have a separate one so the audience can be heard on the others.
Okay.
So it just has to, motion to continue. I think your desire was the first meeting in September,
Right.
and so that would be a motion to continue ordinance 2032 to that date.
And do I have to have the date? Because I don't know when the first meeting.
September 2nd.
September 2nd? Wow, right after Labor Day, huh?
Before.
Yeah. Before Labor Day, that's right, okay. So I would make a motion that we continue ordinance number 20-32 to date certain of September 2nd, 2021.
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb.
Nay?
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Nay.
And the next item would be to continue ordinances 20-33 through 20-40. Would any members of the public like to speak as to the continuation of those ordinances? Seeing none, we'll turn it back over to the commission.
All right, commissioners. Karen, you want to make that same motion again?
Trying to say those words. If anyone else, is there any, do you have anything else to say, Emily?
You can go.
All right, thank you. So I would move that we continue ordinances number 20-33 to 20-40 to date certain September 2nd, 2021.
I'll second it.
I have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb.
Nay?
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee.
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith.
Aye.
Mayor Holland.
Nay.
This is the first reading of ordinance 2109, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Florida, amending the land development regulations, Section 110 Development Standards, and Chapter 115 General Building Site Standards, providing for codification, severability, and an effective date. Ms. Lori Barnes.
Mayor, Commissioners, Lori Barnes, Development Services Director, presenting Ordinance 2109, amendments to Chapters 110 Development Standards and 115 General Building Design Standards of the Land Development Regulations. These amendments are intended to address discrepancies, inconsistencies between sections in the code, and to clarify for practical application of the code. The first amendment grants some administrative discretion to the Development Services Director regarding exemptions for height related to appurtenances and particular structures. This section lists a number of types of appurtenance and structures, but it can't possibly include every possible structure that might be proposed on a property. So this gives the Development Services Director some latitude where similar type structures are proposed. The amendment to the Measurement of Standards section 110-2 clarifies some awkward language and clearly represents that a deed restriction can be recorded to treat a secondary street setback as a side setback or standard common lot setback. Our duplex lot typology currently lists the minimum lot width in urban areas as 35 feet wide. We believe that was an oversight in the original adoption of the code. A 60-foot wide lot for a duplex in urban is sufficient. Our townhome lot calls for a minimum and a maximum setback for the primary structure. The maximum setback currently reads 10 feet, with a footnote that indicates garages must be set back to 18 feet in urban districts. The 18-foot setback is to provide for stacking of vehicles to avoid parking in front yards and along streets. We believe it was an oversight that that standard wasn't applied across the board for all districts. However, we also looked at the differential setbacks for urban versus suburban and rural on all of our other lot typologies and found that they were different. So we're setting a standard for 20 feet for a maximum on the primary structure in suburban and rural, and requiring that if a primary structure is set back less than 18 feet, or less than 20 feet, or 10 feet, that the garage is set back the 18 regardless of what design district it's located in. The land development regulations regarding accessory structures or uses are in section 110-5. We're proposing some language to ensure that accessory structures and uses are all covered under the provisions of this section, and to ensure that temporary uses and temporary structures are covered as well. Section 110-5-6 is regarding boat docks. You'll notice there's only one word changed in this section. In Eustis, the majority of our waterfront properties do not have lot lines that extend into lakes. Those would be imaginary lines extending into the water called riparian lines. This also provides that we do not apply structure setbacks to riparian lines. Our code reads that setbacks are measured from property line to the closest point of the structure, and therefore they would not apply to riparian lines. As I discussed last night, the city has regulations as well as the DEP regarding maximum square footage, centering docks in between the riparian lines, and requiring state permitting if the docks exceed a certain square footage. So we don't foresee any issues with this change. Fences. Section 110 is not listed entirely here. Staff is recommending an addition to the fence regulations to permit small fencing portions intended to only screen trash cans or mechanical equipment to be allowed without a permit, provided they clearly don't violate a setback and do not exceed the maximum height in that particular area. The next amendment is related to barbed wire fences. The current code permits barbed wire fences only in agricultural and conservation districts and when erected by a public body or a public utility in the interest of public safety. The City Commission had a workshop in April regarding the fence regulations and directed staff to prepare the amendments to permit barbed wire fencing, not just in agricultural and conservation land use districts, but in general industrial districts. A top fence is 6 feet or taller on properties where industrial building lot or industrial complex lot typology have been approved on 6 feet or higher, on properties containing wastewater, water treatment plants, or electric substations. And it also provides to deem existing nonconformancies that have been verified to repair or replace their fences as needed. While staff has concerns about the aesthetics and the perspective of outside visitors when it comes to barbed wire, Commission has discretion to make whatever changes they see fit to the regulations. Regarding shed, storage, and utility buildings, this section discusses specifically shed, storage, and utility buildings in the subparagraphs, while the title includes other accessory structures. So we're cleaning up this language. We're providing that these sections apply to all accessory structures, and we are also providing that they apply to temporary structures as well as permanent. The next amendment is regarding access and pedestrian network driveways.
I think you're behind on your,
Okay.
got it.
Driveways. Our code previously listed the driveway requirements as single-family residential and then commercial. We're clarifying the language here so that we can ensure that the non-residential driveway standards apply to all non-residential construction, not just commercial. And we're also adding an 18-foot minimum width requirement for driveways on collector roads to improve safety conditions. The final change involves limiting distance between driveways and limiting properties less than, house lots less than 70 feet wide to one driveway access per street. The next section, 115-3, 115.3.1, 115.3.2, and 115.3.3 relate to the city's residential compatibility and design district standards. These sections of the code have been subject to much conversation and have been involved in litigation against the city. You'll remember back in November of 2020, staff brought forward an amendment to clarify the Commission's legislative intent and correct the definition of abut. At the time, it appeared that that clarification would improve the section of the code, eliminate the ambiguity in the code, and help the city move forward with applying these residential compatibility standards. However, not much longer after that, there were concerns raised regarding continued ambiguity in the language and differing interpretations. So at our discussion in April, staff indicated that we would look at these sections and bring back something to Commission for consideration. Our comprehensive plan calls for landscape buffers, natural areas, and transitional development practices to provide for residential compatibility. And it also calls for predictable, fair, and cost-effective development decisions. So one of the best management practices for planning is providing measurable standards. Can you quantify that a project meets or does not meet a particular regulation? We started with an introduction to include the basis for which this residential compatibility standard is being provided in accordance with the comprehensive plan. The buffers, the natural features, the transitional development practices. We also provide for an improved transition from urban to suburban and rural. What we're proposing as far as lot widths, not only will there be a minimum lot width when you're adjacent to existing lots, there'll be a maximum. That avoids incompatible lot types within design districts. In the urban district, when proposed new residential lots will share a common boundary with existing or platted lots, the width of the new lots may be no more than 110% of the width of the existing platted lots, unless such lots or existing platted lots are non-conforming with the urban design district standards. That said, that avoids in an urban district, consider downtown, a 40-foot lot, a full city block not platted. That avoids the creation of 100-foot wide lots next to 40-foot lots. So it keeps your urban look and feel urban. The next change strikes out language regarding the rear and side lot width of adjacent parcels and provides for a transition when urban districts abut suburban districts. The width of the new lots may be no less than 60% of the width of the existing or platted lots. And here's where the measurable standards come in, unless if they include a 7 to 10 foot wide landscape buffer between the existing lots and the proposed lots, that 60% standard doesn't apply. If they include their required park space for their subdivision between those existing lots and their new lots, that standard doesn't apply. And finally, as appropriate for an urban district, the placement of a wall or fence would create the buffer and therefore eliminate the need to have the 60% lot width. The next section is suburban residential compatibility. And again, the proposed changes provide for compatibility within suburban districts and provide that the width of new lots may not be more than 150% of the existing lots unless those existing lots are non-conforming to the suburban design district standards or unless central sewer is not available. When suburban design districts abut rural design districts, the amendment proposes that the new lots may be no less than 75% of the width of the existing lots, unless a landscape buffer wider than what's proposed in urban is provided between the new lots and the existing lots, or park spaces provided between those lots. Lastly, for rural districts, the residential compatibilities in the rural district section were, under the current code, are very arbitrary and unmeasurable. They call for a density of no more than 25% of the surrounding area unless specifically reviewed and approved by the City Commission. Does not define what surrounding area is viewed. It does not establish criteria for which the City Commission will measure this type of request. When there is no measurable standards and a decision is arbitrary, it increases the risk of challenges to the city. So we are proposing here, similarly to urban and rural, some standards that are provided for when you have a rural design district abutting suburban. Same thing. We want suburban to feel suburban. We want rural to feel rural. We want urban to feel urban. So if you have rural districts abutting existing lots in suburban, those lots may not be more than 200% of those existing lots unless they're non-conforming or central sewer is not available. And finally, when you have rural to rural, those lots that are new, proposed adjacent, sharing a common boundary with those existing lots, have to be 85% the width of those existing lots unless a wider buffer here, 15 to 25, is provided between the lots, and or if park space required by our code is placed between those lots. The final amendment is regarding our parking standards. The uses listed on this slide and our parking standards did not include measurable measurable requirements. The text indicates that the parking requirements will be determined during the review process. That is not well advised, so staff looked at the Planners Advisory Service parking standards and cities of similar sizes, and the parking standards we recommend are in the text of the ordinance. As mentioned at the workshop last night and at the LPA, staff prepared this amendment to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. The amendment was noticed in accordance with the Florida statutes, and staff recommends approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? Seeing none, would any members of the public like to speak on Ordinance 2109, first reading?
I have Lee Conger.
It's me again. Thank you for listening to me. So, as you're reviewing these LDR changes, one of the things I want to say first, I really appreciate the hard work that's gone into this, because there's so much that Lori presented that's really outstanding. And I like the idea of the measurability, because I think ultimately it prevents Eustis citizens from being in a litigious situation. So I think it's beautiful. There are some aspects of these changes that are concerning for me, however. And that is, when we talk about those transitions from SR to SR, from SR to RR. Right now, when we go from SR to SR, let's say that the Thrill Hill annexations transpire, and that's a lot of what is considered rural right now. And so when you abut those, and you're asking then for a 10 to, the buffer is 10 to 15 foot buffer, that's not a whole heck of a lot. That really changes the scope and look of that whole area. So it doesn't feel in keeping with what's truly out there. So, I ask that, again, we take some time to create a vision, like as we transition those properties into the city of Eustis, are these buffers, are these transitions really appropriate in the way that they're spelled out in this land development regulation code? By the same token, when we go from SR to rural, are those buffers enough? Does it make sense? And I just want you to take some time. Again, I'm asking you to take time and complete the planning that we've been discussing for so long to see if there's really a fit here. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Any more cards, Mr. Nybert?
No, sir.
May I ask a question? So what do you suggest?
I think that's a great question, ma'am, and I'd like an opportunity to work with you guys.
I mean, you guys must have trust me, this isn't anything new for everybody out there. So what's the
It would be
climate?
good for me to respond to you
Okay.
tonight, so I would be glad to give that some thought and get back to you and give you a written response.
Thank you, Lee.
Any other members of the public like to speak on Ordinance 2109? Seeing none,
Please hold on.
I'm Sharon Otterson. Kind of an answer to your question, that was Greek to me. And it's like, I kind of wanted to ask, what does it mean to the people, the residents of Eustis, all these ordinances? But I'm thinking, 10 to 15 feet is, between houses when you're living in a rural area. And, I look at a minimum of 25 feet between, even if it's the suburban, between the rural and the suburban. But, when you're used to not having a neighbor that can hear you out their window or off their porch, Yeah, we do need time to think about what these things are and the distance that would be a reasonable amount, because, like she said, to answer a question right here and now, this is, I mean, like y'all last week or 2 weeks ago wanted to sit and look at it. Well, we didn't have that workshop, and it really needs to be considered.
Ms. Sharon, we had a workshop last night.
I know, but I didn't know the public was invited.
Oh, everything we do is public.
Well, see, I'm not real smart.
Because
about
Ms.
these
Lee,
things.
Ms. Lee, Ms. Conger was here. Yeah, I didn't know if you knew that or not, but it was publicly noticed.
Seeing no other members of the public, we'll turn it back over to the commission.
Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-09. What's the will of our commission?
Well, I'm going to
Y'all
move,
wait.
I'm going to move for approval because I would like to discuss it.
Yes, ma'am.
So I move for approval of ordinance number -2109
And I'll second it because of that discussion.
on
Go
its
ahead.
first reading.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Karen.
I really give Lori so much credit for providing measurable and I would move for approval. I think it's workable, it's measurable, and I understood it last night.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
Anybody else?
I just had a question. When's the last time these LDRs been changed?
2008?
2008?
The LDRs are changed on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Something of this magnitude, when is this changed?
This is not a large change. We had a substantial revision in 2015. There were, this particular section 115-3, I don't recall there being any major amendments to it at that time. There may have been some minor changes. But yes, the last substantial was in 2015. We reorganized the code, moved sections around, made it easier to understand and work with.
I would like to comment. I think last night you said, like, Mount Dora had 99. We have 100 and how many pages into this?
That was regarding our comprehensive plan.
Oh, okay. I'm
Right,
sorry. I'm
right.
sorry.
That was regarding our comprehensive
Right.
plan.
I take it back. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I will tell you that this part tonight I'm good with. Now, when we have our next workshop and on our next meeting, I will have a problem probably, but everything that's in this tonight is workable. I can negotiate with the county and with Chairman Parks on nice stuff out here with this changes. The next one, we'll have to see. But we've got that workshop on the 16th, and we'll take that back up on the 17th. But what's before us tonight is workable, and I do applaud Lori for working hard on it. And she's done a lot of this work without any other staff with her this time. So thank you, Lori.
I will tell you, I like the fact that, Lori really broke it down last night and said, for us that have not really been through this, that comp plan is the big picture, and this tonight was in the weeds. This is what can come back before us at any time. The comp plan's a different situation, so thank you.
And let me point out, what we're doing tonight is not aimed at any general part of Eustis.
Yes.
This is all encompassing of our whole community. It's not aimed at Thrill Hill. It's not aimed at anything being annexed. It is just at everything that we do. And it is cleaning up a mess, to be honest with you.
And I will say this, that just, so we talked about some other stuff, so this was all, didn't we discuss this in January? This was January, so this wasn't a discussion that we just woke up and, you know what I mean? This wasn't intentional or anything like that. We did have this discussion in January. It just happened that it's just timing, just so you know. Okay.
Anyone else up here? Got a first and a second. No further discussion. Roll call, please, Mary.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Based on the LPA's earlier decision, Ordinance 21-10 to be continued to the June 17th meeting. Would any members of the public like to speak as to that continuance? Seeing none, we'll turn it back over to the commission.
Somebody like to make a motion to continue this to June the 17th meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Have a first and a second. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Ordinance 2111, this is the first reading and ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Florida, voluntarily annexing approximately 10.72 acres of real property at the northeast corner of South Fish Camp Road and Grand Island Shores Road. Ms. Lori Barnes.
Mayor, Commissioners, Lori Barnes, Development Services Director, presenting an annexation, future land use, and design district request. As you are aware, we present these as a group, although the city attorney will read each ordinance separately for a separate vote. Development Services received an application from Summer Park LLC for a property owned by Marion Burgess Trust. The request is to annex 8 parcels totaling 10.72 acres and assign a suburban residential land use designation and a suburban neighborhood design district. This aerial shows the location of the property, again, at the northeast corner of Fish Camp and Grand Island Shores Road. One of the city's public works facilities exists directly to the east, and County Road 44 is to the north. Staff evaluated the annexation request in accordance with our joint planning area agreement with Lake County. The site is in the joint planning area, and there are adequate urban services available. We also reviewed in accordance with the Florida statutes for voluntary annexation. The site's contiguous to the city limits. Annexing will not create any impermissible enclaves. We did provide notice to the county in advance of advertising as required by the statute, and the annexation was advertised for 2 consecutive weeks in the Daily Commercial. Staff evaluated the future land use request in accordance with Chapter 163 of the Florida statutes. Our future land use element appendix in our comprehensive plan, and according to Chapter 102 of our land development regulations. This slide shows the location of the property and the surrounding Eustis future land use designations in the area. The site under the county designation has an urban low future land use designation, as does the remaining properties in the area that are not yet annexed into the city limits. The suburban residential land use classification in the city limits allows up to 5 dwelling units per acre. Single family is permitted by right. Multifamily is permitted only by PUD, as well as neighborhood commercial. The county designation of urban low allows 4 dwelling units per acre, single family, office, commercial, and multifamily. The requested suburban residential land use designation is consistent with the surrounding future land use designations, both in the city limits and in the county. Staff evaluated the site conditions in the surrounding areas as to public services and facilities, natural resources and natural features, water supply, transportation, and for consistency with our comprehensive plan, and found no apparent issues. With Eustis's form-based code, a design district needs to be assigned to every annexation parcel. As you can see on the map, the suburban neighborhood designation is assigned to all of the properties in the city limits in the area, with the exception of a parcel on County Road 44, which is suburban corridor. As you know, there needs to be a consistent transect, so suburban neighborhood is appropriate in this location. And the site provides for a consistent, compatible transect, and the property meets the definition for suburban neighborhood. Property owners within 500 feet were notified of this annexation request. The comprehensive plan amendment and the design district amendment were advertised in the newspaper, as well as the annexation. Staff did receive 3 phone calls inquiring as to the request. None of those callers indicated explicitly whether they supported or did not support the annexation. Many of them were interested in transportation issues. So of course staff advised that at some point the property owner will likely bring forward a preliminary subdivision plan, and those issues would be investigated in more detail when a real plan is available for the property. Staff recommends approval. The annexation is consistent with our joint planning area and Florida statutory requirements, and the requested designations are compatible with the surrounding area and consistent with our comprehensive plan. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Would any members of the public like to speak on ordinance 21-11? Seeing none, we'll...
We've got 2.
Hi, my name is Sam. I actually live over on Fish Camp. I think what I'm about to say probably runs together with 2111, 12, and 13. I also noticed Ms. Barnes noticed and I may have misunderstood her. She said about the houses yet to be annexed into the city. Not just talking about the vacant wooded area, which my house is actually, the corner of it butts up against there. So I do worry if it's annexed in, are the houses that are already out there, are they potentially going to be annexed in? Because I prefer not to be.
Not unless you request it.
Okay. Thank you for that. The next thing is, I also know she mentioned about the transportation out there. Grand Island Shores Road and Fish Camp, the traffic out there is horrible. To be very blunt, we have people that fly up and down those streets like morons. And building more houses out there is just going to make it worse. I've seen people walking their dogs or their kids riding their bikes, and the traffic, whether it's cutting over from the intersection or going the other way through Grand Island Shores Road, cutting down our street, I've seen people almost get ran over out there. So building more houses does concern me about the safety of the people that live out there already going for walks and stuff, because they treat it like a drag strip, both on my street and once they turn onto Grand Island Shores Road. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. David?
Does she need to fill out a form? Ma'am, if you would fill out one of our...
David, you can come on up and speak. You can get it back to us.
We can run you down.
Hi, my name is Dave Cleaver. I've lived off of Grand Island Shores Road for 35 years. And so I echo the concerns of the young lady who spoke. I've known them, heard her mom walk on Grand Island Shores just like we do quite often. One of the greatest mistakes I think that was made in our area is we have a subdivision that adjoins, well, if you went back to the map, you have the property that we're speaking about. You have the Eustis land that the police officers shoot in. And then you have a very large 90-acre plot that was done many years ago. Unfortunately, when it was built, there was no access onto 44. So all the houses on 90 acres come right out onto Grand Island Shores Road, and they only have one way to go. They can go right and they go down there toward Fish Camp to get onto 44, or they turn left and go right out onto 44. There's I would call it a road that comes out of the back of that property that goes right onto 44, but there's a fence on it. And then I don't know if there was something done at that time when that 90 acres was annexed in that didn't allow that you to come out on 44, because I wouldn't be here today probably if we could open up that neighborhood of 90 acres of homes to 44. But again, I echo many of the concerns. My wife and I walk on Grand Island Shores Road every day. The traffic, we have police officers that sit on multiple locations. Eustis police officers, we're glad they're there. They slow it down for the day they're there. But once you get to the big stone house that's very, very, very prominent on that street, it's boom. I mean, the pedal is to the metal, and you blow through this intersection that's on the corner of Fish Camp and Grand Island Shores Road. And I mean, it's by the time they get there, they're going 55. And there's no sidewalks past, once you get past the city property, there's no sidewalks anywhere out there. So people are walking on the street. So anyway, thank you for your time.
No, thank you. Thank you. Lori, I was in that development yesterday, looking around out there, and there is a back gate to that one development onto 44. Can we look into seeing if that could ever be developed and opened up to relieve the congestion on Grand Islands Road?
What we can do is we can look at the development order. Not certain if that project was developed in the city limits or under Lake County regulations and then annexed in. I'll need to verify that. And most likely it was designed as an emergency access only, which is the reason for the gate. And that could have been either by preference of the developer or by limited access to County Road 44 under the county's access management rules. But I can certainly look into it and have that information in advance of any preliminary subdivision plat coming before you for this property.
I would like that.
And I'd also like to mention that city regulations will require sidewalks along the public right-of-ways for this property. Now, while it's not perfect and it won't provide a connection throughout the whole area, as these new developments come in, we can work on trying to make those connections into the existing developments.
Mayor, is that the subdivision you're speaking of, is that across the street from me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay.
And where does the city end? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head. When you get to from Grand Island Shores Road, you get to Fish Camp, right there at the corner of this piece of property. From there forward, does that go to Grand Island? That's in the county. I'm just asking, because that might talk about the sidewalk issue.
Right. Fish Camp and Grand Island Shores Road are both county-maintained roads.
I mean, the property,
Right.
Here's that corner, property that way, that's all Grand Island, isn't it?
Well, it's
I
all
wondered how much was Eustis.
Right, it's all unincorporated Lake County.
Yeah.
It's in our joint planning area, but if you look at there's the map. So, Grand Island Shores, the property, some of the property to the south is in the city limits, but once you are east of Fish Camp, or west of Fish Camp, once you're west of Fish Camp, it's all unincorporated. In our joint planning area, out to Apiary Road, I believe. Apiary Road, but not in the city limits. So many of these existing developments were developed under Lake County regulations.
Thank you, Lori.
there are no other members of the public, we'll turn it back over to the commission.
All right, Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-11. What's the will of our commission?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance number 21-11, the voluntary annexation.
Thank you, ma'am.
I second it.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Ordinance 2112, this is the first reading, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, amending the City of Eustis Comprehensive Plan pursuant to 163.3184 Florida statutes, changing the future land use designation of approximately 10.72 acres of recently annexed real property located on the northeast corner of South Fish Camp Road and Grand Island Shores Road from urban low in Lake County to suburban residential SR in the City of Eustis. Would any members of the public like to speak on ordinance 2112? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of the hearing.
Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance 21-12. What's the will of the commission?
Mr. Mayor, I move for approval of ordinance number 21-12 on its first reading.
Thank you, ma'am.
Second.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye.
Ordinance 2113, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, assigning the Suburban Neighborhood Design District designation to approximately 10.72 acres of recently annexed real property on the northeast corner of South Fish Camp Road and Grand Island Shores Road. Would any members of the public like to speak on ordinance 2113? Seeing none, we will close the public comment portion of the hearing.
Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-13. What's the will of the commission?
Mayor, I move for approval of 2113 on first reading.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ordinance 2113.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Roll call.
Commissioner Cobb?
Aye.
Commissioner Hawkins?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee?
Aye.
Commissioner LaHoop Smith?
Aye.
Mayor Holland?
Aye. For those of you that spoke in concern on this, keep in mind, once the development comes forward, it will be back in front of us, and you'll have another opportunity to speak to us at that time as well. Mr. Attorney?
And traffic studies are always
Part of that.
part of that. So, and like Lori said, there'll be some new sidewalks. But traffic studies are very important.
And she did say she'll look into the subdivision that's across from me, that maybe,
I didn't
depending
even
on.
know that gate was in there until I was in
I
there the
did
other
not
day.
either until you guys brought it up. I didn't know.
So, Mr. Attorney?
Next item is ordinance 2114. This is the first reading. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Eustis, Lake County, Florida, amending Chapter 86 of the Code of Ordinances, creating Article 6, Fire Services Special Assessment, providing for the implementation of fire services special assessments, providing definition of the proposed assessments and collection method, legislative determinations of special benefit, general authority, applicability throughout the city, providing for initial proceedings, directing imposition of initial assessment rolls, providing notice of publication and mail, adoption and effective of final assessment resolution, providing annual adoption procedures, liens and revisions to fire services assessments, procedural irregularities and correction of errors and omissions, interim assessments, and the alternative method of collection, providing for conflicts, codification, severability, and an effective date. Is this Mr. Shepherd's? Mr. Shepherd.
Mayor, members of council, members of commission, Mike Shepherd, Finance Director. This ordinance establishes how we will administer a fire assessment fee. The future resolution will be done to provide for the actual assessments. And we discussed a lot of this in previous meetings and during the workshop this morning or this afternoon. If you have any other questions, either myself or Sandy Walker can help you.
Any questions?
I don't think I have any questions. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Emily?
Would any members of the public like to speak on ordinance 2114? No cards, Mr. Nyberg?
No, sir.
Well, thank you. We will close the public comment portion of the hearing.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, before us, we have ordinance number 21-14. What's the will of the commission? I've given you over 2 hours to think about it.
Okay, this ordinance just sets up how it would be administered. It doesn't set up
Does not set up the
the
actual
dollars.
dollars.
It just sets up how it be administered.
I will say, though, that we need to have that information to the property appraiser by July 1st on how we will administer the dollars.
How we administered, or
Or
the actual percentage?
percentages.
The actual percentage. So
And how we intend to collect it. We're going to collect the money through the
Tax assessment.
Tax assessment. But we will have to tell them how. And then Sandy would have to put the pen to paper for determining how much each property would be assessed.
Just a point of procedure on this. If this ordinance passes, this takes us into a process of notifications, hearings, that will cost us $10,000 in cost. If you remember, the original contract was $30,000. By ending it today, we only have the original 20 that we spent to report in that. So if we proceed forward, we're committing ourselves to a $10,000 process. So utilize that as you make your decisions.
I look at it as us being forward thinkers at this point. We have, we have fire and we have police, and we're growing, and we need to prepare for that.
Anybody else? Do we have a motion yet?
No, I guess I'm going to have to talk.
Go ahead, Tom.
You know, I really feel like I don't like it. Nobody likes
Taxes.
Nobody, me especially. Single income here. So, but I see a need that's coming up, if it's not here already. So maybe we should ease into this. And I don't like it, but I don't know how else we're going to fund what is needed in our public safety, particularly our fire department that doesn't even have one of their vehicles on the road. I say we go in, we approve this administrative, and then we fight out the money part, but I would like to see us go in 50% and go from there.
As part of the ordinance, they have to commit to a certain percentage to explain that process.
This simply is a procedural ordinance. It authorizes you to be able to impose assessments. It does not provide the methodology. It does not provide the rates. It does not provide the exemptions. All that gets done by resolution. This gives you the authority to impose a fire assessment should you choose to impose it in the future.
So this is like annexing.
Except it's costing us $10,000. I will say this,
No,
I'm going
this
to,
cost us $20,000.
oh, it's already
so far.
cost us 20,
The next-
and it'll cost us an additional 10.
The next-
I guess I'm just going to, if I can jump in, Chief, I'm going to call on you. So if we talk about $525,870, how much of that are you going to receive, and what's that do for you? Well,
And 500, or
The original proposal was to increase the fire, when we were proposing it with $1 million in new.
yes.
The total amount would go to fund the fire department, but only $500,000 of that would go to increase his budget.
Okay, so you're getting 500,000, but that's with the million. You guys are talking the lowest one, which is 525,870. So you're going to get 250.
No, there wasn't, there's no commitment that it was a split 50-50. The reason we came up with $500,000 was that was the cost necessary. You remember when we had the strategic plan meeting, the chief talked about the rescue truck, and he needed 6 individuals to man that rescue truck, additional people. That $500,000 was part of the process that when we put this together back in January, that 500 additional would allow him to put those 6 additional people on the road with that rescue truck.
Okay, so if we take the 525,000 and you reduce his budget, we're back to the same.
We're not saying we're reducing his budget. If we
not what I heard.
if we go to the 565, our proposal would be to give him the 500, to give him the 6 people. The 65 could then be taken from his budget we're taking 65 of
Robbing Peter to pay Paul. That's what it looks like.
We're redeploying assets of the city, revenues. Right now, the fire department is funded 100% by general fund revenues.
I know that.
Okay. All we're doing is taking statutorily authorized revenues in the form of a fire assessment. We're putting 500, if we go with the 565 proposal, we're taking $500,000 of that 565 and increasing his budget. $65,000 now that is in his current $3 million budget, general fund dollars will come out and be replaced with that $65,000. So, because under the law, the fire assessment has to go toward the fire department, and this is perfectly legal. The $65,000 that was freed up from the fire department budget can now be used for other general fund purposes, ideally public safety.
You're basing that on the 27.5%?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
It seems that was the way we were going, so I was pressing how the scenario would work under the 27.5.
How will it work under the 55.5?
The 55.5 is that his budget would still be increased to $3.5 million. The full million would go into his budget. Then $500,000 of general fund revenues that funded the original $3 million of his budget would be freed up for other general fund purposes.
And once it's implemented, it's forever?
No, the commission could rescind it at
Every
any
year.
time they chose.
It's an annual resolution.
Have to make that decision every year. What I love about this commission, and I'm just going to break this in, because we're all different, we all have different views, but we still can smile each other, and we can still be friends. So, no matter which way any of this goes, but we're working together for the city of Eustis, and we all want the best for Eustis. And I love these guys, so.
Well said.
All right, so,
I'm going to tell you that I don't like it.
I knew
I
you.
don't like it at all. I understand we have big needs in public safety, and my family has worked in public safety in Eustis since the 1920s. And there's nothing better than our fire department and our police department. And I'll do anything I can to try to help do that. I don't think this is the cleanest way of doing it. I'd almost rather look at a millage rate increase than to put this tax on top of people.
I'll do that.
Because I don't like the way it looks. I don't like having a fire assessment fee and then cutting the fire department budget and giving it over to the police department.
I don't think you,
No, that's
you
not
didn't
what happened.
cut, you didn't cut the fire department. You just didn't take.
Tomato, tomato.
You didn't
Robbing
take it
Peter to
out
pay
of the
Paul.
general fund.
Yeah. You look at what's budgeted there now, you are going to decrease it.
Leave it.
No.
We're just utilizing different revenue streams to fund the department.
And if you, the million, we would be able to fund an additional $500,000.
I don't like the looks of it, and I'm going to vote no. So,
Okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
That's good.
so,
And by any stretch, I don't want, Chief, I do not want you guys to think that I don't support public safety, because you know I support public safety. I just don't like the optics of it.
I just think it's a cleaner way to do it.
I agree.
I
It's
just don't want to cut services
Me either.
overall.
Me either.
I mean, any services.
We have to increase our services. I mean,
Oh,
we
true.
just voted tonight to annex more properties in, you know. We've got a project at Pine Meadows that's coming in front of us. I mean, there's a lot of things that we're looking at trying to do. We've got to have the people, we've got to have the equipment to do what we need to do. I just think there's a cleaner way of doing it than,
So if we increase the millage rate, how much would we have to increase it to?
To generate $1 million?
I know,
So
just
it's
right
another
off the
one.
top of your head.
Off the top of your head, I know.
Probably about 1.1,
At least.
about 1.1, so we'd go from 7.58 to 8.7.
That
We
put
are-
us in line with
Well, we're the
everyone.
highest rate.
But no, we're the
Highest rate.
highest rate. We should be thinking of ways to lower it, not raise it, in my opinion. And to me, I was thinking today, we haven't looked at our budget. I bet there's a lot in that budget that could be scaled down somehow and cut, and we haven't had an opportunity to do that.
So what are you going to cut?
I'll bet you when we go through that budget, there's a whole bunch of things that we could probably narrow down. But we haven't had an opportunity to look at the budget.
We haven't.
Well, what,
80% of the budget is personnel. There's not
We're talking
very-
about the whole entire city
I understand
budget.
that.
Well,
But
I
the-
understand, but
but-
if we cut money from water and sewer, it doesn't affect the millage.
It doesn't, yeah.
We can't cut from the building department, that's not paid by ad valorem dollars, general fund dollars. So the only thing that property taxes go into are police, fire,
Parks and
administrative
Recreation?
services,
Administrative development,
street department,
the
Library?
library.
leisure services. I mean, there's, and like I said, approximately 80% of the entire budget for the general fund is personnel cost.
It seems like
The
a
other-
contradiction. One minute we're saying we need all these things, and the next minute, well, we can't, raise
I'm
the
just telling you,
funding.
in the budget, the operations, it runs fairly lean.
Yeah, as you recall from the budget presentation I gave you, our general fund on an $18 million budget, our fund proposed surplus for this year when the budget was passed was $180,000. So,
I don't know how we're going to be able to do what we want to do, what we need to do, if we don't do this. I don't know how we're going to do it.
if you want a good primer on the budget to see what's in there, the budget's not going to change that much this year over next year, other than the contractual increases in salaries and those costs that get passed on to us. So if you want to start looking for items in the budget that you want to start looking at for targeting for cuts, I think starting to review the current year's budget would give you a good head start on that until we present the proposed budget for the upcoming year.
Well, we're supposed to have workshops, aren't we?
I had asked for workshops with each manager before us to talk about the budget.
And we're preparing for that. We just got our millage rate. I sent you the final general fund budgets have been submitted to Mike from the department heads. Those are being compiled. We're waiting on some final cost estimates from some of our major costs, like liability insurance, health insurance. We haven't got those rate increases yet. We haven't got a firm assessed value. We only have a preliminary assessed value. So we'll be ready to present that to you for review probably sometime in early July. But we don't have the full data right now to give you the numbers you need to make a good informed decision.
I think it would have been a good idea to have gone over the current budget and explain things to us, then we transfer all of that knowledge into the future budget as you present it. But by the time you get all of this done, it'll be time, basically it's too late. So to me, I would have preferred a workshop on the current budget and learn all these things and see where they are. And then it makes more sense when you bring the new one in, we can compare
Way to compare.
the two. I mean, that's how I feel. I don't know about the rest of them.
Chief, so to get the brush truck, the concern was the brush truck that's still sitting there and 6 people. What's that cost look like? Just off the top of your head.
Right at about $500,000. I think the cost per person was $75,000 per person.
Is that 6? You need 6, right?
Six to get it mostly on the road. Yes.
Mostly.
Mostly on the road. Yeah, because I mean you're going to have that'll put me right on the edge, and if I have somebody hurt or something, that'll probably be.
So then this still doesn't fix our problem.
It's not 100. It's not 100%.
It's not 100%. It still doesn't fix our problem. Yeah.
But it gets us closer to 100%.
Yes, it's a step.
And then so what do we tax again to get him closer and get Chief closer?
Well, I think that what we do is, we go with, if we want to do the 50%, we go with the 50%, and then we look at the budget and see what we can cut. And then we kind of address it, again.
I believe that personnel has not increased for many years.
No, we haven't had any personnel increases.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, when you look at a budget,
It's coming.
8%, I mean, that's a tough one. We're considering moving another 200 from the water and sewer.
Okay, remember you saying something the last time about maybe checking on the legalities, how much we could transfer from.
We've done an analysis. We're comfortable moving an
How much can we
additional-
legit take each year from the water to the general?
Right now, we're taking 1.8. We've analyzed it. I think we're comfortable moving another 200 to make it a full 2 million.
Legally, how much can we move?
It's not, there's
no legality
there's no
to it.
legality to it. It's just, however, you can justify it financially.
Sure, and how much is sitting in there now?
Sitting in.
The water.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I'm trying to
I know.
help myself here.
Well, part of what we were thinking about is the money that we get from the American Rescue Plan.
Yes.
Rather than having to borrow.
No, and I knew that.
We're going to use that to, part of that.
And I knew that,
pay
but
so
what's
that-
still sitting there now?
But a lot of that's been committed already for capital projects moving forward over the next 5 years. So our concern.
I was just looking for the balance, that's all I was looking for.
Correct. It's about $6 or $7 million right now.
The
However-
balance?
Ma'am?
That's available balance?
That's available balance. There's probably about $11 million in actual cash with less reserves that we're required to keep. But keep in mind, if you look at the CIP over the next 5 years, there's $6 to $7 million in capital projects proposed in water and sewer.
And how much will we gain in the next 5, 6 years?
In gaining additional, it all depends on profit and losses in the
Yeah.
fund, rate increases.
Well, it's not like we won't lose, I know that.
No, we're not going to
Yeah.
lose. I don't see the fund balance increasing greatly based on the 2.5% rate increase we did. We tried to keep
And I
the
knew that,
rate
yeah.
increases low so that we don't create huge fund balances that are just sitting there and not doing anything with it. So that's what we've done. Ideally, moving forward, we think we might have some additional revenues in the next 2 or 3 years when the Umatilla comes online, but obviously we don't know what that is until that happens. So we're trying to balance a justifiable amount to transfer from the water and sewer fund into the general fund and coupling it with the demands of the capital improvements we need to make in our existing water and sewer systems. And we don't want to fall behind on that because then you're looking at 20, 30%.
Well, no, I know, but we're going to take, we talked about with the 6 million from that Recovery Act money to put towards the
Yeah,
upgrade.
we're going to put, I think, we're
6
talking
million,
about
I think.
putting, about half maybe.
About 5 million.
About 5 million?
Correct.
And.
And how much will we have to borrow?
2 million.
2 million?
Yeah, and that's going to be the next, we'll start it, I think the engineering's already started.
Correct.
And so we may be shovel-ready sometime next year. So that particular project has been moved up.
Yeah,
From
because.
where it was.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we need that upgrade, I get it.
And then we have $1 million commitment coming forward on the Umatilla project. Keep in mind, we're upsizing that line to
Yes.
accommodate development. So, and if you look through the CIP, you'll see that there's a significant amount of capital projects in water and sewer. And we want to obviously use those reserves rather than incurring additional debt.
Shall we
like
call the
it.
vote?
Go ahead, Karen.
I guess we're going to. I'm going to support this tonight to let it step forward again, but I want to see the maximum that we can work with water, the fund there. I want to see that, and I do want that workshop on the budget as soon as we possibly can.
As soon as the right numbers are.
And I want every manager in front of us, and I want that thing gone through backwards and forwards. And if it's not, I'm going to be very disappointed. Mike, you know how we used to do it.
Yeah, I remember.
And I think it's going to be important, at least for three of you, to see that all the way through.
Yeah.
It's not fun.
Yeah.
And if you thought you had a headache last night,
There's
Thank you.
not enough
Okay.
Advil.
And it's not, and I want to warn you, it's not something you're going to do in one sitting.
Oh, no.
It needs to take 2 or 3 days to sit down and do this properly. And not full days, but it's going to take 2 or 3 sessions to do it. So
I'm
that's
committed
what
to
I
it.
would like to see done. So, all right, we've got a first and a second. Any further discussion? Mary, roll call, please.
Who's the first and second?
I was.
Where you been, Mary?
Willie, second.
I second.
How could you not know?
Well, that's what I
It was so
figured,
long
but if I don't
ago.
confirm,
And we're growing weeds
see,
up
y'all
here
put me
for
to
food.
sleep, that's what happened. Commissioner Cobb,
Nay.
Commissioner Hawkins.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Lee. No.
I'm going to say nay.
Commissioner Hoop Smith.
I'm going to say aye.
Mayor Holland.
Aye. All right.
We'll have a second reading for the ordinance next meeting. Do you have any feel for what you would want to start with on a fee?
So we can prepare the proposals for you. Well, as part of the budget, now keep in mind, the final vote won't be until September, right? Yeah, September, so obviously the budget is well in process, so we can present those as part of the overall.
So what, if you're gonna get, if you do the 27.5
Yes, ma'am.
and the 55.5,
Mhm.
so how much more bang for your buck, or how much more can you do by going with the 55.5 as opposed to the 27.5?
The $100.
Well,
Half a mil.
Keep in
Yeah,
mind.
I'm saying, will it make a tremendous amount of difference as to what you can do or purchase? and-
Oh,
Yeah.
half a mil.
Absolutely.
$500,000.
$500,000, yeah.
It's a half a mil.
It'll add
Will
between the
it
two,
be,
you add another
will it
half a
be
million.
effective to do the 27.5?
You would get the additions to the fire, okay, that we were
reduce the
proposing.
budget.
So the
That was
preliminary
what,
has to
six?
start at that. Okay.
6 new.
They need to do that now?
And then what the other half million would do, we have the negotiations with the police coming up again. We can help, that'll help figure out where we're going to be in law enforcement.
So I just want to remind you that whatever rates are set in the initial assessment resolution are your maximum rates.
That's right.
So if there's any consideration that you want to do the $100, you need to start with the $100 and not start with the $50. Because
Okay.
you can't go
go
up, you can go down. So you could start with the 100, and then after you go through your budget process and decide that you only need the 50, you can come down to the 50, but you can't go the opposite way. So whatever you do, you need to make sure.
Yeah.
It's just like that, you can't go down.
Yeah.
Set the millage.
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, on the 55, we're talking about $1.14 million, and the commitment was any revenues over $1 million. I'm sorry, Mike?
Okay, I want to point out the $1,063,000.
$1,063,000.
Because many of the mortgage companies are going to pay in the first month.
And there's a
they'll have a
discount.
substantial discount on their payments for the taxes.
Okay, so in this case, $63,000 in proposed revenue. anything that we garner over $1 million, we agreed we would use for millage rate
Right.
reduction.
That's what I want to hear.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so if we went with the 100, then that,
We get a millage rate reduction. Right?
yeah, the
Of
143, we'd have
Yeah, it'd be
143.
based on, what, $63,000.
Okay.
It's not a lot, but.
It's not a
So
lot.
$63,000 divided by how many people? Are they gonna get $2?
Well, it's
About 14.
About $14? So the $100 people, they're not gonna get millage rate back, they're still gonna cost them $86. That's just my 2 cents.
$14.
14, whatever. Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay.
She can calculate the rates that would more closely, I mean, 63,000 is fairly close, but we can look at that rate. It may
And
come
that'll
down
come
a
back
dollar or
before us on the 17th. Is that correct for the second reading?
second reading, correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I have one more question. I'm sorry.
That's the whole point of being able to discuss it.
That's
I
right.
like that.
But you get the stink eye.
2.
Okay, just as a hypothetical. So if you did the 75% and you got,
The 70, okay.
okay, and you got 436,000, so the millage rate will drop how much?
Well, with the other one, it was, what, .1?
.1,
When we thought.
yeah, the one we thought it was the
143.
143 was .14,
Yeah.
so it'd be 7.4 and change. So we could probably, with a $500,000 additional, we could probably get it close to 7. But keep in mind, do you remember a while back, we had the conversations about the functional millage rate? And that the functional millage rate is a matter of all the dollars that people pay to the city for services in the general fund. So keep in mind, while we have the highest property tax millage rate, if you look at a functional millage rate, given what everybody pays for fire assessments and MSTUs and other property tax revenues that they pay, we probably have one of the mid-range millage rates. So keep in mind, we'll show you how it will affect, okay, the millage rate reduction will be this, but a homeowner with a $150,000 house, their increase or decrease in their tax to the city may be this. We'll give you that representation.
And with property values
They're not going down.
going up, yeah, I mean, they're just,
Well, our increase
crazy.
in taxable value preliminary number this year was only 5.8%. So
is that because of the Save Our Homes? The 3%,
No,
it can't
I
go up
don't-
more than 3%?
No, I don't think so. The residential property, you can only go up 3% a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think commercial can only go up 10% a year. So they're limited in what the assessed value can go up. Part of that was new construction that came online.
I see.
Yeah. But remember too, on that 75%, you increase the commercial from 9 cents to 12 cents, and these are the people that are paying the highest part of the taxes. I guess that's, for me, that's my biggest
That was just
concern.
hypothetical. 'Cause
And I was just
I'm
letting you know
having a
that.
problem with the 100 and with the 50, so.
Yeah.
Well, is there serious consideration of the 75, or do you want the 55.5 to be the max that we present proposals? 55.5?
Which one is the 55?
That's where, that's
You're
at
welcome.
about
You're welcome.
Is
$60,000.
that
It
the
covers
half? That's the
100.
half.
You're welcome.
All right. Yeah, I don't want to go any more than that
That's-
first year, anyway.
$100.
Yeah.
Any of it, so don't ask
We
me.
need to, if we do the 100, we can always
ask
come
me,
back
'cause
to
I
the
don't
50, but if we do the 50, we can't go up to the 100.
Right.
So we need to make that decision
Yeah.
tonight.
But keep in mind, any proposed number that's higher is going to garner a higher amount of interest, so to speak, so.
Sounds like the safe thing to do is the 100.
I say 100.
The 55.5%, the
Yes.
$100 residential?
We start at 100.
Yeah. 100?
I voted against it, remember?
I don't-
No, 100.
Okay, we're talking the 100, not the 100%.
The 55.5.
The
We're talking the
$100
55.
$100 residential rate.
55.5.
Which would be
Okay, yeah, I
$100.
don't want to go more than that.
Not go more than what?
55 point.
whatever.
Okay.
55.5%.
All right, y'all got direction?
Yes, sir.
All right.
What do you say, Mayor?
Mayor's not saying another word tonight. Y'all have let me go hungry up here, so
He's
should have had a
hungry.
pizza delivered a long time ago. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
That's Sandy?
Thank you.
Sandy,
That's it.
thank you.
All right. Future agenda items. Karen,
Good Lord, no.
Dan.
No, sir.
Thank you. Willie.
Not tonight.
Praise the Lord. Kim.
There we go. I feel like making up something just to get, no, I'm okay.
All right, good. Reports. Nan.
I don't really have a report. I just want to say, just, guys, be careful. Right now, it is mating season for gators. They are alive and well. Can I just tell you? What I'm saying is, we had a juvenile about 3 foot long on Grand Island Shores Road, where I jogged by. I mean, he was right in the bushes backed up. They're very active. They're very aggressive right now. So please we're Lake County, so just please keep an eye out. Okay? Please keep an eye out.
Anything else, Dan?
No, sir.
Willie.
Only thing is we're trying to do a lot of things in the city, and sometimes I think we kind of slow it down a little bit more than we want to.
Yeah.
So I'd like to have conversations kind of speed up some things we'd like to get done.
Perfect.
But not tonight.
Karen.
Okay. Just want to invite everyone, the Eustis Library has library book clubs. You can check out a collection of books for your own little book club. And we have several bags of them. And I've been very fortunate to attend these. Our last meeting, we each read a different Agatha Christie book. And you would have thought there were people who did not like Agatha Christie. What? Yes. And our librarian was one.
I agree with them.
So it is so eye-opening, and it puts you, it's like art, that it puts you in your non-comfort zone. Because I've read some books I would have walked by, even if the cover was something else. But the library has them. If you're a member of the library or the county library system, you can check them out. The Memorial Day service was wonderful. Emily, we missed you. Your chair was right next to me. Thank you. I enjoyed my first set. And tomorrow is First Friday.
Excellent. Thank you. Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on the Resource Center grand opening. It was wonderful, good turnout, great turnout, good vendors out there, lots of information flowed. And on Saturday, they had an event also, and that was very good. And it was like records expungement and information on that, right? And it turned out very well. They're doing a great job, and I hope that the community will support them in what they're doing. The Eustis Alliance Committee. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Attorney.
Nothing.
No. Good. Thank you.
It was out too.
Just one quick item. I will not be in the office next week. I will be available electronically. Without objection of the commission, I would like to appoint Bill Howe as acting in my stead.
Everybody good with that?
Well, if we object, then what? He still goes on vacation.
Good.
You know what? Next week is game on.
How much can we change?
Well, if you object, I'm going to make Chief Swanson acting city manager.
Moving right along. I want to congratulate the Lady Panthers softball team.
Yes.
I want to
Awesome.
thank everyone that came out for that celebration. I also want to thank city staff that worked hard to put that on.
Yes, they did.
A lot of work went into our police department escorting those girls around the county.
Amazing.
And then for the parade, our fire department was involved with it. Rick's folks went out and hung flags for us, made sure everything was good at the band shell. And poor Tom Carino, that man is everywhere, out working to make sure our sound system and everything was set up.
I think he's triplets.
I think he is too.
He is.
Craig was out making sure, and Aaron and her crew were out. So thank everybody for that. The Memorial Day service was outstanding. Enjoyed being there with everybody, and really put an emphasis back on what the meaning of Memorial Day is. And then again, I want to congratulate the 2021 graduating class of Eustis High School. Almost 350 students. And I was able to represent you all on stage that night, and it was really neat listening to the speeches of those young people. And every time I start to question where we are as a community or where we are as a country, I get to go to an event like that, and it changes my whole mindset. We got some awesome young people coming up, so very, very excited about our future. So, you have something else?
I would be remiss without saying I need to thank Rick again for all his hard work. We have mulch in the islands. I saw them putting it in today, and I just want to say thank you for listening, and thank you for doing a great job. They're cleaning up on the shoreline at Lake Willie. It just is going to be fabulous.
It looks nice.
It looks so nice, and I just want to say thank you.
Yeah, Lake Willie, I was out there looking at the garden the other day and noticed all the clearing of that lake. Outstanding. So thank you. That's all we've, oh, Lord help us.
But we would be remiss if we didn't say the bicycle ride with the chief was awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
It really was. It turned out a good turnout, and the kids enjoyed it. Everybody.
So much fun.
Even the adults were out there wanting to be a part of it, so I thought it was fantastic. Thank you. And let's do it again on the other.
Chief Capri, keep cleaning this city up.
Yes,
thank
Put
you.
them in jail.
Yes.
We're done. If you are going to deal drugs in this city, if you're going to be a part of a crime ring in this city, you need to get out.
Yep.
We're not putting up with it anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Before you leave, the last thing I brought it up a couple of times, but given what's been going on around the city in the last couple of weeks, I'm really going to push for code enforcement to go under the police department.
All right, I'll speak to you about your vision for that. We talk about it.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Next week?
At your, not next week. I'm available tomorrow.
Let's get it going.
He's available tomorrow because
He's available tomorrow. Let's get it going. Okay. All right. Thank you all for sticking with us. It's almost 9 o'clock. We're adjourned.